A warm welcome to Eran Green to our podcast, Master AI Disruption. So happy to have you here with us today, Eran. I really enjoyed our previous conversation and hearing everything that you've done. So Eran is a CTO at Pegasus out of Alberta. In Canada, and let me say a few things about his extensive technical leadership background. He worked on F-35 helmet, trophy active protection, spine surgery robots. So you can imagine how many lives you're changing with this. Invisalign, in other ways, aesthetics, and also work with Boeing, one of the biggest name in aeronautics. So please, Aaron, tell us what got you here. What is your story of origin?
I'm originally from Israel. I moved to Canada 2.5 years ago, October 23, to basically join the startup ecosystem here in Edmonton, Alberta. I carry about 20 years of technical leadership, started with telecommunications, also dabbled with aerospace and defense and medical devices. Interesting project that I've led as a technical project manager or section head system engineer expert were the helmet mounted display system at Elbit for the F-35 fighter jet, the Cholle protection system in Rafael for that protects tank crew against anti-tank missiles, and also in the medical device industry,
Yes.
I basically led a group of super talented system engineers in the Mazor Robotics, Medtronic acquired company, to develop the next generation of spine and surgical robots, and Invisalign basically developing the intraoral scanners that basically deal with both aligning issues, orthodontics, implants, and so on and so forth.
Okay. All right. So I hear a lot about Invisalign in my home. Okay. Because my partner's a dentist, my brother's a dentist.
Oh, nice.
Yes, yes, yes. So you mentioned because it was established in 2018
Yeah.
to really
So,
solve the
yeah.
the wildfires in
So
Canada. Yes, go ahead.
the Pegasus basically is a company that was established in 2018
Yeah.
with the main purpose of fighting wildfires. We
Yeah.
basically developed, that was before the time that I joined, developed drone UAS specific application that provide an eye in the sky for firefighting teams. We basically presented our disruption to this specific use case. Paper maps were used and finger times wind estimations in terms of where the fire is heading and how to basically overcome it. Pegasus provided that kind of Ewok in the sky and basically provided the firefighting team with a holistic, coordinated mapping and
Mm,
communication. Through that process, Pegasus developed two pretty significant capabilities that were a huge disruption to how UASs are basically operated. The first one was an icing detection
yes.
system, and the second one was a detect and avoid system. So a multidisciplinary, multi-model sensor system that basically gives the UAS the same expected performance and behavior as if this was a naturally manned airplane. When we presented these capabilities in front of Boeing, they were super excited about the icing detection system. And why? Because you can't operate an aircraft in Canada without tackling icing. That's just the reality. And you can't squash off 6 months out of a year in Canada to fight wildfires. I don't know if the audience is familiar with that, but we have basically perpetual fires going around also during winter. So the
Mm.
flames are kind of like in a dormant kind of state until summer hits.
Hmm.
So that's a big challenge. So
Wonderful. Okay, great work. So from fire to ice to fire, and then surgery and medical devices. Okay, wonderful. So you're ahead of the curve, but what is the curve today? What kind of trends do you see happening on your markets?
there are many. I think that what the wave that Pegasus is currently riding is the aerospace and defense hike that we're seeing. So you heard the news of several countries right now spending a lot more money in terms of their GDP into aerospace and then mostly in defense, building sovereign capabilities and basically carrying out unique capabilities that are for their specific needs. In Canada, and specifically in northern United States and also Eastern Europe, icing has become a pretty big issue as opposed to what we were accustomed to in the last, let's say, 30 years.
Mhm.
Wars right now are extending and are not just limited to summer times or spring time. You can see that both in Ukraine and Russia. We can see that also with the epic fury and what happens in the Middle East. And tensions are high. And countries right now are spending a lot more of their GDP into building disruptive capabilities and specifically in defense. Pegasus mission right now and how we basically are enabling that is we enable existing assets and enhancing their operational capabilities by raising the roof about on their existing operational envelope, operational availability, and basically creating safer corridors for aircraft to operate in specific harsh conditions, harsh environmental conditions. The reality is that most of the current aircraft operating instructions right now are super limited. We're talking about plus, 4 to 6 degrees Celsius on the ground and visible moisture. The pilots just peek out the window and they don't take off, which is a big issue. Second, we have a regulatory gap here. Right now, a lot of different customers and companies are focusing on a destructive capability, which is loitering in icing conditions. Not only avoid, but actually staying and fixed to the mission and engage with the mission, although there are icing conditions happening while the airplane is still flying. For these capabilities, you need the unique sensing capabilities and also icing protection systems as well.
Mhm.
And Pegasus is enabling that. So we actually, some of the platforms that we have been integrated onto are seeing a huge impact in terms of the month that they are just grounded. The planes are staying in hangar. We bring back almost 3 months out of a year to enable these pilots to kind of move
Mhm.
ahead.
Mhm.
We're working with regulatory bodies, with the different fleets to make sure that this happens.
Wonderful. So obviously that intersects with your growth strategy as a company.
Yes.
Could you tell us more about what's your next level? How do you see Pegasus, keep growing and growing its market share?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I believe interests your audience specifically is how do we bring AI into the mix?
Sure.
Bringing AI into the mix in aerospace and defense is super delicate. We have to go through a pretty strict and rigorous process in terms of verification and validation and qualification and certification of our system. We have to meet specific standards. Each and every line of code has to be protected. It has to be justified as well. When you operate agents and you operate, and you consult even with AI LLMs, you need to basically understand what you're asking and verify that you don't have any loopholes or any kind of vulnerabilities that you're introducing to the system. So we're right now in the mix of kind of the preparation, the setup to get the systems ready to start entertaining that option. And why? Because we see this as a huge potential, especially in scalability.
Mhm.
The peak right now is about, let's say, 2025 plus, some consultants. In order to meet our next generation system, we need to triple this team.
Mhm.
So in an order fashion, within 3 years from now, we need to start investing and investigating various options for us to optimize that and minimize the impact to a company when you scale, so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
For sure, absolutely. So tell me more about the difficulties when you scale, so fast as a company. What are you referring to specifically?
So maybe not technological, but I think also from a people management perspective. Now, most of the employees are currently reporting to me or reporting to their team lead, and that team lead basically is reporting to me. I think it's first of all the culture. Culture is a big thing. The level of scrutiny that these guys are going through internally, also by me, but also demanded from regulatory,
Yeah.
super high. There are no misses. We need to be perfect and even beyond perfect to meet our customer needs.
Mhm.
So that culture is something that we have to basically make sure and maintain throughout the growth of the company. We're dealing with huge tier one strategic customers, and we can't take a risk of basically missing, performance and KPIs. That's critical. When you do that, you need to make sure that you're recruiting the right people with the right
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
characteristics. Should
Yeah.
take the same kind of rigor because it just needs one team member to slack or not be as 100% and that misses. So we put a lot of guardrails in place, as I told you, verification, validation, qualification, certification. There's so many steps in the way that make sure that you really perfect your system that meets regulatory needs and the customer needs. But it also has to do a lot with the people that you manage because we don't recruit non-system oriented people. It's not only that the CTO, the system engineering manager carries the weight. Basically encourage our team members to think broadly, holistically of where things could fail. Things basically could be uncharacterized or undefined that they might lead to, let's say, an uncontrolled system performance or unmonitored system. So that's something of a mindset that we encourage everybody right now to have. So that's the challenges that I'm saying.
No, I can imagine. We worked with Thales, on satellites, and I remember they
Yes.
told me. So first of all, when you enter the company, it's like, and then you go through chambers because there can't be any dust or anything. And they told me like one time,
Yes.
one piece of dust actually prevented a satellite from being launched. And there
Yes.
were, the elite, of the army of multiple countries were there sitting in the room and nothing happened. And then so I remember, the extreme security to get into the campus for one, obviously, but then second to go into certain rooms, it was like entering, I don't know, like yeah, a war zone in a way, Yes.
It's a clean room for silicone and wafer kind of the production as well. So that, yeah, it's a different level of engineering. It's not a proof of concept or a, early stage startup or a research study that you just need one run to work. You need to make sure that your systems are still operating after X amount of years in the field in harsh environments, and that requires a lot of specialty that
Yeah.
people are not coming from, without experience or without any kind of, mentor.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I get it. The culture is so important. Yes. All right. Many thoughts come to my mind, but why don't you tell us a little bit what you do to ensure that this culture of exactness, reliability, sustains and keeps, getting better and better.
Luckily, great schools in my past experience, starting with being an engineer and a designer myself. And basically after that, being a system engineer and a manager, system engineering manager, and so on and so forth. So I'm a true believer in processes. Like that documentation and communication are key to make sure you're not only have a good development and a good design, to make sure that you're actually developing the right product as well.
Hmm.
Especially when you're dealing with multidisciplinary systems, you have to have specific checkpoints with a team and with a designer. You have to have open conversation. You have to have the right kind of culture for people to speak up in case they see a risk or they see an issue. Most times and often in my experience, I've seen things fall between the cracks between teams. Integration is where systems usually fail.
Yeah.
And I think that I also was one of the leads in the implementation of a scaled agile framework for enterprises. Safe. And I've seen how basically the agile methodology, if not used correctly, creates these kind of silos in terms of focus, which is a great advantage, but creates a risk in terms of the meeting points between different teams and different disciplines.
Which methodology did you bring up?
Safe. It's called Scaled Agile Framework for Enterprises.
I got it.
Over here in Pegasus, although a really small team, we're already held to a higher standard than most companies that I've encountered and others as well. I had the great opportunity to basically build this from scratch, and it's working really, really good. We have predicted outcomes, we have predicted results, and basically timelines, and we had a huge achievement as a startup. Maybe worth noting it. We had basically the first install of our sensors was not great. You try, you fail, you learn. After that, basically a year passed, and we basically delivered 3 huge milestones within 4 months, which is insane. Also including manufacturing and including everything. We basically delivered 200 sensors to our Boeing customer. We basically installed and had participated in flying into known icing conditions on a Group 5 altitude long endurance UAS, and basically collected data that was not shown before. in
Wow.
the world. Again, it's basically leading legacy companies like Collins, which has the Rosemount equivalent system, the Vernier ice detection system, and so on and so forth. So it's a great achievement for us being a company, and especially looking at how these processes basically promise and ensure that we have predictable outcomes and results. It doesn't say that every experiment we succeed in. It doesn't say that we don't have our failures, but it says that our processes ensures that we basically map these ahead of time, mitigations in place that are already mapped like ahead of time in terms of basically ensuring that we will hit our release of the next product generation or the next software version and so on. So
Mhm. So I can imagine that the sense of pride, is up the roof when you achieve those things, and it's also a very strong pillar for culture, right? To see those achievements
yes,
possible, that gives a sense of possibility and courage and self confidence for sure. So
yeah.
could you talk to me a little bit about the tension between that level of execution that has to be impeccable and the necessity to fail in the process of innovation?
That level, I don't see. I see it as a completion of the same kind of parts. In what the level of rigor goes to and is mostly focused on system performance. When you are really that focused on system performance, every tolerance shift or deviation or static variance of your performance matters. And when you focus on that, sometimes you fail. Sometimes you have to go to the drawing board. It's the same thing, right? When you set your thresholds to a lower kind of value, everything passes, right? So I'm seeing that as a completion of the same kind of thing. So it's aligned with what we carry in terms of value, how we
Mhm.
prioritize different objectives and tasks and experiments.
Yeah.
And we send a team every 6 months to the National Research Council Altitude Ice One Tunnel to verify that each and every generation of our sensor systems align with industry standards. We verify unique scenarios there as well. For instance, we took our sensors to zero point 0.7 Mach in that altitude ice wind tunnel. We basically take them to the extreme conditions in terms of altitude, temperature, and so on and so forth. So we sometimes want to see where the system fail. There's something that's called a HALT and HASP, which is in the military industry. That's a high accelerated life test and high accelerated stress screening testing. And basically, you take your systems to the edge,
Sure.
and that starts to kind of float design issues, production issues, and so on and so forth. So I'm a true believer in that, and that creates really robust designs for future projects.
And in the process of research and development, okay, let's talk more about AI, and so how do you see that in the future, let's say 2 years from now? What do you anticipate?
That's one of the super exciting things
Okay.
about Pegasus. And we talked about it in our previous discussion. We're basically creating a new data layer, a new strategic data layer. And why? Because we turn each and every aircraft to a meteorological system. When you do that, you have a real time mapping of icing conditions and
Mhm.
other conditions as well that inform the entire fleet. So, specifically on the military side, you create safer corridors that your airplanes are able to fly while your enemy, let's say,
Mhm.
can't in these conditions due to their restrictive aircraft operating instructions. So you take off, you fly, weather is not basically a limiting factor, provides you actually with a safety measure. So that's a big, big thing. And to do that, you need to basically collect a lot of data. You need to correlate that with meteorological existing data, right? And after that, you can basically provide predictive models based on your new data layer that nobody has,
Mm.
which is one of the unique, projections for Pegasus.
Got it. All right. So then, of course, two questions. One is very simple. How many people are behind this incredible company working every day?
Right now, as I told you, we're about 25, including consultants.
Yeah.
We have various teams here in Pegasus. We have manufacturing and mechanical engineering. We have a firmware team. We have an iOS and cloud team. We have physics and algorithm. We have system engineers. We're hiring a lot of different co-ops and interns from adjacent universities here, like UFC and University of Calgary and University of Alberta. We also initiated a few research programs with various professors here out of U of A, not part of U of A, but
Mm,
they're
mm,
in U of A.
mm.
So it's super exciting stuff. So as I told you, we're planning to almost triple the entire team here in the next years.
But I would imagine that AI slows down the hiring somewhat, even if, the key talents that you have won't be replaced, so sure, but AI would be an enabler of the potential of every human being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we talked, I think that that's what we're currently focusing on is making sure that we have the right kind of infrastructure, the right setup, the right security measures,
Yeah.
including local installs as well that are not exposed to the internet to start entertaining agents, especially for our coders right now.
Yeah.
We're using that all the time for research. We're using that all the time for, summarizing different studies and different lectures and so on and so forth. We're using that to basically help streamline our day to day. Like I think every company does that, but I think we have to be aligned with the most recent advancement in AI and
Mhm,
that we
mhm.
agents creating flows, the CI/CD aspects that could potentially increase our velocity substantially, especially on the software side. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
Understood.
I don't think that I would put the actual hands on deck and reduce that number. I think and I'm hearing a lot of voices right now in different forums and podcasts as well about this is the end of the world and everybody's going to get fired and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. Believe that? I think it's just a force multiplier.
Yeah.
And if used correctly, this could basically increase your velocity substantially and also make sure that your systems are up to date. Because I think we heard that just recently from Anthropic about looking at vulnerabilities. Mythos, I think,
Yeah.
was released. They detected vulnerabilities that no human could possibly detect. So if there's huge advantages also from the security side.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing to see that even in such a sophisticated, technology company, AI does bring differentiated value.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not in opposition. It's really in synergy. And then tell us a little bit about competition. How do you position yourself, and how do you position yourself, or are you just a trailblazer and you don't look back or you don't look behind?
So first of all, I haven't presented any slides, but basically that's part of how we, as a really early stage company, it's not early stage, it's early stage from the icing detection perspective, tries to make a mark in this industry. This is a conservative industry. We're talking about big players,
Sure.
aircraft players that in order for them to shift from one vendor to another, because you have a vendor lock, because if you certify against the Chinook, which we are installed on,
Uh,
Boeing is not going to shift to a different icing detection sensor just because of another company basically provided a new feature, right? It's going to take them time, years and years of basically shifting towards that.
mm,
So you really have to focus on differentiating capabilities, basically a game changing story that is attached to what you have. And that's exactly how we're doing that.
mm,
We flew against the current market lead and showed substantial advantages against that. Also, from a situational awareness of the operator, our distributed system, we've basically proven that icing, shouldn't be a surprise to any aerospace and defense engineer, not basically accumulating uniformly across different platforms.
mm,
You have heat maps or heat points that icing loves to accumulate due to the airflow. And if
mm,
you're not aware of that, that can basically compromise survivability systems. That can basically compromise the asymmetric buildup of icing. We
mhm,
have we can basically provide that notification and situational awareness to the operator. That's
mhm,
a key feature. Why? Because our legacy systems right now have a single point of detection and sensing, and thinks that it can basically extrapolate that to the entire aircraft.
mm,
So
mm,
approach is totally different. That's one. Second is basically having a high resolution feedback for the user, not only providing them with what legacy systems provided, a binary yes icing, no icing, but actually providing them with the height assessment of icing as it accumulates. What is important? Because basically it gives the operator the knockoff criteria that he knows where basically the controls of the aircraft are being compromised and basically do several maneuvers to basically take and get rid of the ice. So
Mhm.
critical. Maybe for the audience, icing is a huge thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
yes,
ice buildup on aircraft is a catastrophic event.
of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The NTSB, even a quarter inch of ice on wing can basically take the plane from a controlled to an uncontrolled behavior, and that's a big, big deal. So for aviation, you have the icing, you have different measures. When you take a Boeing 737, you have bleed air that basically heats up the wing throughout the entire flight. By the way, a huge gas guzzler from an energy perspective. So
Yeah,
that's a different discussion. But for military, sometimes you can't choose if you can take off or hold up for your takeoffs. They have to extract people from dangerous places, and they take the risk. And that's a huge thing because you can basically take a Chinook that carries 60 soldiers. And if you're not aware of icing buildup, that bird can drop. That's a big deal. So
of course.
yeah.
Well, Aaron, could listen to you for hours. You have this gift to make those very complex, technology simple for us to understand and at least relatable, if not understanding them, at least relatable and realizing how much there is going on that we take for granted, right? When the minute we step in on an aircraft. Thank you very much. I mean, maybe we should have you back, in a year, to see the progress made and all the successes that have propelled your company. And would you say that you are the innovation hub of the company?
I carry the IP strategy, the specific technological kind of a problem solving kind of thing. There are numerous talented people over here. We have two PhDs as FTEs, but we also have three professors that are helping us out as well. But that's part of my role, right? To
Yeah, yeah.
promote.
To create that hub. Yeah.
Yeah,
Remarkable.
yeah.
Remarkable. Well, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time, in your busy day and high pressure life and risks that you're managing every day. Thank you very much for our audience, for us, for me, and to be continued for sure.
Thank you very much,
You're,
Francis.
you're very welcome,
Yeah.
Aaron.